Welcome back to Power Play. Longtime NDP MP Charlie Angus is retiring from federal politics. First elected in the Northern Ontario riding of Timmins James Bay back in 2004, Angus announced today that he will not seek re-election when his riding expands under new federal boundary changes. He joins us now from that very riding. Hi, Mr. Angus. Good to see you. Thanks for making the time.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Vassy. It's great to be on the show.
Was it a difficult decision to come to?
Well, I'll say off the top, becoming a professional politician was never on my bingo card of life. But after 7 elections, 20 years in Parliament, it's been the great honor to serve the people of Timmins James Bay. But this month, April, my riding technically disappears. It's a riding bigger than the United Kingdom. And then it becomes morphs into a much, much bigger riding with an extra 20,000 square kilometers of territory. And you know, after 20 years of being a part-time dad, part-time parent, of having way too many close calls on the highways, it's not a task I thought I should be taking on, because there's so much more work that could be done closer to home.
How much of an impact did those riding boundary changes, the prospect of that, have on your decision?
The decision was really heavily affected by the boundary changes. This is the 3rd time I've gone to bat to try and save the ridings of Northern Ontario. I don't think people realize just how difficult it is to service some of these northern communities. Carol Hughes, my colleague, who loses her riding, Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing. Carol has lived in her car for the last 12 years. I've got communities where I have to reach by helicopter, by freighter canoe. For me, the real issue here is representative democracy requires that trust, and that trust that's built at Legion Halls, at kitchen tables. We're in a time of, I think, really growing alienation and disinformation. And what's kept me going is that ability to be in all those little Legion Halls, all those community dances, those funerals. And I want to do it with integrity and vigor. And when I look at this enormous new riding, I think, well, maybe the time has come for some new energy to come in and take up the task.
You mentioned some of the things that have evolved or changed. You've been an MP. I know you said it wasn't your intention, but for 20 years. When you reflect on 2 decades and then versus now, what do you think the biggest difference is?
Well, in the work that I've done on Indigenous rights, you know, when I first got elected, the first battle I was in was the Szechuan water crisis. It put the deplorable negligence by the government against most basic rights of Indigenous people. What I've seen in 20 years is such incredible growth of leadership, and the young kids that I was meeting out when we didn't even have playgrounds, we didn't even have like gym equipment, we didn't have proper schools in some of our northern communities. That young leadership is going to transform Canada for the better. So that's a positive. I think on the negative is the really worrying trend to disinformation and hate politics that we see trending all over the world with the rise of the right, the rise of conspiracy. And I think Canadians need to be aware that democracy is a fragile thing, and our nation is a fragile thing. It's based on the trust that we have in each other, and we really have to try to do better. And I think people should expect better from their political leaders at this time.
Do you think Canadians are equipped to counter that?
It is concerning. I mean, you know, I get up in the morning and on my Facebook feed and there's you know, just rage messages from people I don't know where they live, I don't know what they are or what country they even live in. And then I get out and I just see really good, ordinary people going to work and doing their thing. And to me, politics was always about being a voice for people who didn't feel they had a voice, for our communities in the north that didn't feel they were on a political map, and trying to go and explain policies that sometimes weren't popular, and to hear that feedback. And I believe democracy is still powerful and can be, and I love our country, but we all, I think, have to pick up our game to maintain that respect that people should have in their public institutions.
You mentioned Carol Hughes. You're not the only NDP MP to announce that you're leaving politics today. Ms. Hughes, as well as another one of your colleagues, Ms. Blaney, did as well. Mr. Blakey is moving on to Premier Canu's office. A couple of other MPs have announced that they're going to retire from politics as well. I just want to be clear and maybe ask, I think, the political question here, which is, are Canadians to read into anything into that and your support or lack thereof of the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh?
Well, I love Daniel Blakey, but I'm going to hold this against Wab Kinew forever, that Wab Kinew stole such a great presence from the federal house. And I know why Daniel left. I mean, you got a young family and you can do that work in your province. For Carol and I, it was very much the riding. I mean, she lost her riding. Her riding was already enormous. My riding's much bigger. Rachel, same thing, of trying to represent and being so far from home. But democracy is always about renewal. And I mean, I've been 7 caucuses. When I joined the party, they were talking about the end of the NDP and is this the end and what's the future of your leader? I've seen so many great people leave our caucus that I never thought we'd survive. And I think what's important is knowing when renewal should happen. And I'm really proud of the work our caucus has done, and I'm very excited about where it's going to go. And one of the reasons I made the decision now in April is to keep the eye on the prize. We have to set the ground here in the new riding for the next candidate. And it's actually a much stronger NDP riding. I've had people say, hey, dude, are you nuts? You get better polls in the new riding. I said, I know, but look at my hair. It's turned gray. I was a young lad when I joined politics. So renewal is the lifeblood of democracy.
Are you still confident in Mr. Singh's leadership?
Listen, I came in second to him. He beat me fair and square. I've had his back ever since. He's had mine. He's our leader, and I never doubted that. And I think what we did recently on trying to get peace on Gaza, to me was a historic moment for Canada. I was proud of his leadership working with us. I was proud of the work. I've been really super proud of his determination on issues like diabetes, medication, pharmacare, dental care. We made those promises. I talked to people at the door who couldn't get their teeth fixed and said, trust us, we'll do this. And people laughed at us. And I know people have laughed at us on all kinds of issues. But we keep showing up. As someone said, we're like dandelions. Once we're on your lawn, it's a hell of a thing to get rid of us. So that's, to me, is the story of the NDP.
Well, I'll leave it on that note. Mr. Angus, I appreciate you making the time. I know that you're not actually leaving until the next election, so
I'm not going anywhere. Sure we'll I feel like I've been asked to give the eulogy at my own funeral, and I'll be at work on Monday. Don't worry.
I hope. Yeah. Okay, great. We'll see you then, Mr. Angus. Appreciate you making the time.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.